We're all
Hi,
here.
everyone.
Hello.
So I mentioned that I talking about embracing inner peace and how important it was for our mind, body, and
Mm.
soul, spirits. So I think, Caroline, I just what's stuck in my mind something you mentioned the other day. How it was suggested that when you sit quietly, did you say blend into the everything else, or dilute your energy, or
Dissolve.
just dissolve?
Dissolve.
Yeah,
That was,
I
a meditation thing. Like when you're sort of like getting into it, just imagine that you're dissolving into the space around you. So Joe Dispenza thing, it's something I heard on his meditation, and it really worked for me because my brain's like this all the time, chatter, chatter, chatter. So meditation helps, but to have that as a technique, to imagine that, it really helped me. Yeah, it's good.
I went for a walk this morning. I sat down, and just after I sat down, I had this thought going through my head. It was something that I had a little bit of obviously anxiety, or not anxiety, but concern around. And I remember what you said, and I said, no, and straight away I was able to just diffuse it.
That's
So it
so
felt good.
good.
Mm.
That's awesome.
Alexis, you're so busy all the time. How do you chill out?
How do I chill out? Meditation at the moment is like an important thing, but on a couple of points around meditation, everyone sort of like centers themselves. So meditation essentially is centering yourself, like coming back to or having a look at internally, or but there's different ways to do it. People want to meditate because they think they want to quiet the mind, and sometimes it's not for that purpose. Sometimes it's just to be in the zone as well. So you can meditate for different reasons, and I think when people sort of discuss meditation or centering yourself, there's a pressure as well. When you're like, oh
Mm.
my gosh, why is there so many things running around my head?
Think of
Um,
nothing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not doable
Yeah.
sometimes. And
Yeah.
sometimes you just got to let the thoughts come
Mm.
and then let the thoughts leave.
So,
And this is
yeah.
where, Caroline, you mentioned it. For me, I meditate.
When you're cooking,
It's
that's
horses for courses. Yeah. So I cook to meditate, because I don't need to think. I just like for me, it's just a process, and I go into flow and I execute. But let's say there's something that I want an answer for, or I desire to get some clarity or knowledge. I'll sit quietly and just
mm.
have the thoughts flow over me, sort of like just go through me, exit. I sort of, I guess, converse with the universe
Mm.
in that way. Yeah. So for me, it's like, depends what I'm going through. Is life stressful? Is life not stressful for most
Mm.
people?
Mm.
As in, we all have challenges we need to face. Is it a good or bad thing? No, I think that's living. So, I mean, there's also a surrendering, like we as a team always talk about surrendering and allowing the situation or the opportunity to just exist. And so
Mm.
sometimes that's not easy because you have that sort of chatter that you keep telling yourself, am I
Yeah.
doing the right thing? Am I like, is this the right way? And that.
Mm.
And sometimes being able to go, okay, it's okay to think that way, or it's okay to have those
Yeah.
thoughts, but let's not sit there for the next 7 hours or sit there for the next 48 hours, which is the bit
Ruminating.
that, yes,
Mm.
you're
Yeah.
kind of stewing in your mess, we
Yeah.
call it. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's not great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's multiple ways. And I think we touch on a couple of key points on what's happening at the moment, even for our like women in bloom. We look at direction, where we're going, how can we best support our community, all those sort of things. And it's like this this record that keeps circulating in all of our
Yeah.
minds.
Mm.
Yeah. So if anyone's got any
Love anyone's.
feedback, yeah.
Yes, I was just going to say any input. Yes.
Yeah. I find finding inner peace, um, it's how can I put this? You have to want to. It's very easy to sit and stew in your own stuff, like you just said,
Mm.
Alexis. If I feel like my friend used to say, your brain's a soup. just there's too much going on. Music and nature are both really good, helpful things for me to find that peace again. Also, if there's a situation that sometimes you just got to face it head on. If there's a situation that's tricky and you just need to go, right, let's sort this out. And then that becomes peaceful instead of thinking about, what's going to happen or just deal with it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious to explore the impact of carrying that stress or that soup, what it has on our well-being, our physical body. I think
there's
it's
so much research. There's so much research on that ruminating the negative. And I everyone's come across it. No one's saying there's no bad things. You know how there's this perception that you've got to run around and be completely zen and everything's wonderful and sunshine and unicorns and rainbows. It's not, that's not the reality. Like I know that people kind of, there's people who want to exist in that space, which is great, but like our life doesn't do that. Through challenges we learn, through challenges we actually get more in-depth awareness of who we are. So I mean, surrendering is a really good term that we sort of bring up because it means that you're experiencing it, but you're also just letting it do its thing. Like, yeah. And that's where I see more of the awareness should be around, you know what, we all go through stuff, but surrendering or existing in the space that it's okay to have these experiences, but don't live there ruminating in your soup.
So what about people who are in difficult situations? Do you think spending time going in that a form of meditation can help them tap into their strength or possibilities or get some clarity as to their way through it or out of a situation, rather than getting so caught up in the I wish, I want, I don't like this, I don't like that? So, because I think there's a lot of inner wisdom that we could access possibly when we sit quietly.
Well, that's a really good question because we all have gone through it, and Annie, like, the wisdom comes from that. So, what have you done when you've had to look internally?
Well, I've found when I have stopped and just quiet my mind, answers or solutions or a way through often just go bing. I'm able to see it. I'm able to feel it, or I'm able to see the possibilities rather than be swamped by the what I'm not liking or I'm not happy about. I find that tremendously empowering, actually. I think that's what I find so amazing about that, making that time to sit or do something that you're completely absorbed in, whether it's painting or cooking or walking, and just being in that motion, in that flow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I
there is a
find that,
ton of research. Sorry, go
I
Caroline.
was
Yep.
just going to say, if a situation has reared its ugly head and it's not a good one, I often find, and I've only sort of really been aware of it more recently, I'll go and have a nap because if there's so much emotion associated with something and I really don't know how to process it and I'm just looping and it's like, go lie down, go have a sleep. And that the doing that helps me sort of reconnect to what's out there, and I wake up going, okay, now I can feel like I've got some ideas or solutions, or I'm not like totally in my head about it. I can go and distract myself with something else until I can manage this. Do you know what I mean?
Or it gives yourself some distance from it.
Yeah, exactly.
And from a physical perspective, right? What do you do when you're not feeling well? What's the first thing that you want to do? You want to lay down and rest. So it's the same with sort of going through your mental awareness, as in going through something emotionally straining. It is a form of dis-ease in the body. So you laying down is quite intuitively the right thing to do. And
Mm.
we tell ourselves not to listen to our intuition when it comes, because you're like, I'm so busy, I don't have time to lay down, I don't have time to sit with myself and be silent. I've got like 20 million things I need to do, a to-do list. And it goes against your intuition. It
Mm.
Yeah.
literally goes against your natural physical intuition of what to do. And sometimes we need to lean into our intuition and lean into what our bodies and our, emotions are telling us. I think
Mm.
we get out of balance when we don't.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Absolutely. I definitely find that I can create many problems, or don't realize I'm doing it at the time. I've created dramas and concerns and worries and stress in here, but when I come back to here, ah, it's
Yeah, I think we talk
So
about getting
cool.
out of your head and sitting in your heart space. That's the other
Yeah.
thing as well. Because
Yeah.
the head's like, it's that sort of, the ego and the constant chatter of right, wrong, you know,
mm,
um, what am I meant to be doing? All that over talking. Whereas if you sat in your heart space and you actually are feeling at peace or at ease, those thoughts, like you said, Annie, comes a lot
yeah,
more clearer,
yeah,
Mm.
and you get such a level of clarity when you do that. It's just honoring yourself to do it. That's sometimes
yeah.
the
Why do you
opportunity.
think lots of people seem to have resistance to that honoring of themselves? They make excuses, or I speak for myself. At times I make excuses. Oh, I'm too busy. I'll do it tomorrow or whenever. It's
I
kind
feel
of
like it's a bit of indoctrination. Like when you're a kid, your parents are like idle hands,
mm,
that
Yeah.
terminology.
Yeah.
And so you think, if I sit still, I'm not being productive,
mm,
but you need to sit still to truly be productive.
That's so
And
true. That's where
yeah,
your answer come.
yeah,
It's where creation happens. All of that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So, I mean,
yeah,
we need to stop telling ourselves the wrong story, I guess.
That's
mm,
true.
but that's what I'm intrigued by. There are a lot of people who eat junk food. They think, oh, I'll start the diet tomorrow. Oh, look, I'll eat better food tomorrow, but they don't. It's kind of like, and so they suffer as a consequence of that, and they become so removed from what it feels like to feel good. They can't find it hard to relate to, or it loses its appeal, or they get stuck
Mm.
in this on this treadmill. And yet, it's it's how to live well. It's how to feel energized and alive and pursue things. But we kind of don't do what's good for us sometimes because it's too easy to do what's not good for us.
Yeah,
That's
I think that's
true.
a really key point, because I mean, like touching on your point around food, right? That's such a beautiful example, because if you ate food and sat with and really like were present when you're eating and what you were eating, what foods actually
Yeah.
make you feel well. But
Mm,
because we're rushing
mm,
around and we're like,
mm,
what's quick, what's fast? How do I resolve this hunger
yeah.
pain or whatever?
Mm,
You then don't sit with it. But 9 out of 10 times, I think um, we as people, if we sat with that piece of, whatever it was, fruit, you'd feel great. And then if you had something that wasn't too great, you tend to know, oh, I don't
yes.
feel so great after having it.
Yes.
But it's that not sitting with it. It's the rushing
Mm,
around. It's not being
mm,
present or conscious about what you're consuming. And that's everything.
yeah.
That's food, that's social media, that's,
That's
um,
our thoughts too. That
yes.
yeah.
And
Mm,
or that one person that either comes to you and is your kind of like, they complain to you and you feel like, oh, I'll just listen, but then they've filled your cup with such negativity,
mm,
but you go, oh, that's okay, because this is what friendship is. And then you're like, if you sat with it, it doesn't feel
Doesn't
right and it
feel
doesn't
good.
sit right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
yeah.
all those sort of things. And really, you know what? We've just worked it out. that sitting quietly or, you know, centering yourself, and taking time out to do that
Yeah.
applies to everything, not
Mm.
just the thoughts in your mind, but the food you eat, the, you know, what you're visually
Yeah.
consuming, what you're, yeah,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
The
Mm,
conversations you're having, it's all forms of input, isn't it? Like, you've got to be
yeah.
mindful. If you want to feel inner peace, you need to be mindful of everything.
Mm,
Yeah, and the terms
mm.
now, like we talk about consciousness, and you mentioned the word mindfulness, and sometimes they get diluted in expectation. Like if I'm not doing that, I'm not good enough. But
Yes.
what we re yeah, what we let's take away the expectation of what mindfulness looks like. More of like if we just go sit with yourself. There's no
Mm,
expectations there, right?
Mm,
There's no,
mm,
oh my gosh, I'm being zen because I'm being mindful of,
mm,
you know, whereas if you
mm,
just sit with yourself and you know, hear your thoughts, or that you quiet, you're being quiet with yourself,
mm.
there's no expectations. It's just
Yes.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong way to do it, is there? It's just
No.
about, um, yeah, diluting yourself. Is that what you said, Caroline, before?
no.
No, when you're sitting quietly and you're,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
and just
dissolving.
dissolving. Sorry,
Dissolving.
dissolving. It's like diluting
Sorry,
yourself.
I was confused
Dissolving.
then.
Yeah, yeah.
Dissolving. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think, you know, it's like anything. Some things work better for some people more than others.
Yeah.
Some people's form of meditation might be dancing. Some
Yeah.
people's form of meditation might be painting, or in your case, cooking.
Mm.
But but you know, that what we're talking about in terms of feeling centered, that could be just a really good conversation with a friend that leaves you feeling uplifted and happy,
Mm.
you know?
I certainly find when I take the time to sit quietly, or I just allow myself to get lost in doing some painting or even gardening for that matter,
Hmm.
when I come back to think about or consider something I need to manage or do, or it's, I'm not entangled with it. So it's, I can walk, kind of get a sense of different perspective all around it. And I can think, oh, wait a
Yeah.
minute, that's not, and see a way forward. That if,
Mm,
or sometimes I'll sit with a problem and I'll just kind of imagine I'm pushing it away from myself and actually then do the walk around and trust in whatever comes up and see how it feels in my body when I consider options. And it certainly feels lighter and more expansive when I come from my heart rather than here.
True.
yeah.
And there's so much research out there. So, I mean, sometimes when we talk like this, I think there's people who sit out there and they go, oh, this is all a bit of woo-woo. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of research around what meditation can do for you and different types of meditations. Um, but I think we kind of like as a collective, women, or, you know, as a community, there's so much expectations on doing things right and how right it needs to be, and what level right am I? And then we put so much pressure on
Mm.
doing that that we go, you know what? I'll just do what I know, which is running around, checking, like
Yeah.
ticking off,
Yeah.
like, you know, to-do lists and making myself busy and that sort of thing. Like you don't you don't really need to do that. And I think this now, coming into the awareness of that, 2025, I think for a lot of people is that awareness as well. Like seeing, is this the life? Is this truly who I am? Is this,
Mm.
am I serving myself? Am I supporting my growth?
Yeah.
Am I doing that? I think it's important to actually review. And
Well,
yeah,
it's sorry, didn't mean to jump in there.
no.
I was just thinking of when women get to the kind of middle ages, midlife, they start thinking, well, do I want to live my life how I have, or is there something else, a better way for me? Something, is there a way for me going forward that will be more fulfilling,
Mm,
more satisfying, and more allow me to explore my potential? And what is it? Who am I? Those questions. That's when you sit quietly, you kind of, it's, or get into the flow of doing something. You, it's easier to get to refamiliarize yourself with who you are as opposed to your role or your job or your busyness.
Yeah.
So Caroline,
I
did
know.
you have you had any of those epiphanies around sort of as you've progressed? Like, have you stopped and gone, is my
Yeah,
life serving me or supporting me right now?
I had that probably. I've had it. I have it. I've had that epiphany several times over the course of my life. But the one thing, just this last discussion that Annie was, the thing that you were saying, Annie, reminds me of my mum. And she lived in her role as wife and mother. And then I remember her going through this massive existential crisis, going, who am I? I don't even know who I am anymore. And so, because she had been living as, like, she got married at like 19 years old, had me at 19, and then that was it. She was wife and mother for, the next 20 odd years. And then she just went, I don't, and this wasn't after I moved out. This is while I was in high school, and my younger sister, and she just sort of woke up one day and went, I don't know if I can do this anymore. It was a massive, and she said, I'm just going to the shops, and she took off. And she didn't, she had no inner peace at all. She was just up here going, who am I? What am I doing? She went to stay with friends for a little while. Then she came back and then said, I'm just going to New Zealand to stay with some friends for a couple of months. And the dad treated it as a breakup. And yeah, but then she
Where
came
were
home.
you? Where were you guys living at the time?
Oh, in Queensland.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, right.
So yeah, she had friends in New Zealand. She just needed to get away. That was her way of reconnecting with who she really was, and not have kids hanging off her or a husband hanging off her. You know what I mean? So that really taught me at a very pivotal age, don't let that happen to yourself, Carrie. Don't do that. Don't give everything of yourself to where you are. Keep a bit of yourself to yourself. So when it comes to decisions about where I am and who I am and what I'm doing, they're more practical as opposed to who am I in this life. I feel very comfortable with who I am in this life, but it's a case of other more practical considerations that happen with me. Does that make sense?
What practical things though?
Um,
Like
like
example wise.
finances, work, jobs, business, that sort of stuff. Like the mundane day-to-day decisions, as opposed to who's Caroline and what's she all about. I'm fairly comfortable with that. But then I've spent quite a significant amount of time going in anyway and sitting by myself and spending time by myself. Like, I've been walking for years now, every morning, and just that's
That's
my
your
time.
meditation.
Yeah.
So when you're doing
Yeah.
those practical things,
Mm.
you're saying that you actually feel like you're present with it.
Yeah.
You're it, rather than it's not something that you're taking on, but you're in. Yeah, you're pretty centered when you're going through all those practical things as
That's
well.
it. And when life happens and situations happen and there's lots of emotion, then I'll go and have a nap because I don't know how else to deal with it. I'll just go and lie down. Yeah, that's how I find it. So
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. Like, and I mean, how, like when Mum did that, how old were you?
I was 15, I think 15.
15.
And
Yeah,
how was she when she came back?
I was really resentful because as an adult now, I just feel so much compassion for her. I was just
Mm.
thinking, how unhappy and messed up would she have been feeling to just leave her girls? Like, Dad was at work and she said, I'm just going to the shops. And then 1 hour went by, 2 hours went by, Dad came home, and it was a thing. But she was that in her head and hurting. But I was really cross with her when she came home.
How did she?
Eventually came
But
home.
how did she take that? Did she accept your
She did.
crossness? Or?
She was a really beautiful woman, and she understood where I was coming from. But, she'd been gone for months, and so the dynamic changed. I had to step up, and then when she came back, the old dynamic was there, and she sort of started ordering everyone around the house and trying to settle herself in, and I was just like, I don't think so. So there was a little bit of sort of to and fro there, but looking back on it, my heart just goes out to her, because she lost herself in her roles, and she was a homemaker, so she had a few jobs, but they weren't really career or anything like that. So
I say there's a lot of women out there today who are going through degrees
yeah.
of that.
I know, and I look back, and I don't know. She's passed away now. I don't know if we ever had that conversation as me as a mother myself. I don't think we actually talked about it, but I like to think that she knows that I just feel compassion for her.
Well, I encourage all women. I wish I'd done it more when I was younger, rather than getting to what am I now, 68, and thinking I'm spending more time really checking in with, is that right for me?
Yeah.
Feels the best for me. How can I live my best life, or a most satisfying life? How can I reach or explore my potential and feel into me more? I don't know if that makes sense, because I spent so much of my life just
activating,
semi-conscious.
Yeah.
And you get to my age, it's like, I've got to make the most of it. It's now. I've got to do it.
That's it. We're already in February. Life is going really, really quickly, and you turn around and go, oh, I'm 56. It feels like I was 25 last week.
But sorry, going back to what Alexis says, I need to actually just be gentle with myself and say it's okay. It's there's no pressure on me to
we do that. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and it's not, I guess it's not our fault. There's a lot of indoctrination going on, school, you have to achieve, at home, are you meeting your mark? Sometimes you get compared to your siblings, or you get compared to your friend down the street, and then it's sort of innate sometimes in families where it's like, well, it's all about competition. It's all about, are you achieving? And then at the end of the day, it then becomes solidified. And then just to be able to sit still is so hard. Like, you don't feel like you're being productive. And then after that, then you don't sit still. And then you turn around and you're whatever age, and you're like, who am I? Like, is this, am I my roles?
And then by not doing it, it affects your health. It affects your organs, your blood, your every part of your body. It's not just here how we feel and how we think. Our body needs us to, as you say, get rid of that disease.
Yeah, and I think how when the people who work, like, as in we all worked, but as in when you would wait till Friday to relax. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you'd work the week, and then you just look forward to Friday. Sometimes you've got to review, is that the life? Like, how long do you keep going with that for? How long does that support you, where we're seeing a lot of disease disease and dis-ease in the community around waiting for retirement? And there's so much stories around it, when people have worked and they've just waited to 65, and then next thing you know, something kicks in, like something that doesn't support your health, and then you're there going, I've waited this whole entire time to retire, or to quiet my mind, and then realize as soon as you do it, your body's like, wait, you've waited too long. Now we've got to address a couple other things. And I'm like,
it's like so I was just thinking of lots of people who are work. They go on a holiday. When their body has a chance to relax, they get sick.
Yes, that's right.
That used to happen.
I had a friend who was like that.
Yeah, that used to happen to me. As soon as I stopped working, I'd end up with a head cold, and I'd get sick.
Yeah.
But there's this lovely expression
of
lesson that I've
mine.
heard.
What is it?
If you're too busy to meditate, you should be meditating.
True.
And it's so true. I love
Yeah.
it. I love that.
Yeah, and I think the perception also around meditation, like meditation, we talked about me cooking, but praying is a form of meditation. You know, like different versions of meditating. Sitting with yourself is meditating, and it doesn't have to go through some sort of process, and you don't have to listen to yoga music or whatever. Like, I think the perceptions around it also doesn't make any sense. Like, just to be able to sit in the sun is a form of meditating, or just like I joked in one of my reels that I did, sometimes you just need to, if you've got no time, maybe just lock yourself up in, you know, your wardrobe for like 10 minutes and just quite, because if you've got kids and you've got, you know, like the noise and it's just find a quiet corner and just
Stop.
close your eyes and
Just stop.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, just
My
stop.
bathroom's my place. I just pour a bath and just lie in my bath, shut the world away.
Yeah,
Bye.
there's a good reason why you created Bath Calm, so
Yes.
everyone can have the same opportunity. Hey, with the guided meditations that come with the products,
Oh,
that's a
yes.
good idea.
Thank you. Yeah, it's my happy place. I wanted to share that. I thought that with everything that was going on at the time, and I was lying back in the bath, just not giving a rip about any of it. And the thought occurred, I need to be sharing this.
Oh,
There's
nice.
something that, yeah. So it was coming from a place of wanting to share, being able to find inner peace, I guess.
See,
Not everyone.
and that came to you. It wasn't recently. It wasn't something that you started when you were young. So there's ideas and possibilities can come to us at any time.
Anytime.
True.
You're never too old, ever. You know, it's just, it's creativity. Human beings are inherently creative. It's our nature. It's what we're made up of is creativity.
Well,
You know?
we're creating our life every day we live because we're putting out and thinking and doing. We're constantly creating. We can choose to do it more consciously or Anyway, that's another.
That's another
topic.
live. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've done well. We're half an hour. We're already like we always do.
Well, there's a few, we want to touch on a few points too before we like exit, like the events that are coming up and the collaborations. Caroline, this is your space. So,
Okay. All right. Well, where do we start? Shall we start with Tonya?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, this is exciting. We did a little reel on this a little while ago, but for anybody who knows the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival and goes to that, Tonya Reeves, Australia's Cowgirl Medium, she's on the stage there every year. She's fantastic. She's a beautiful soul, and she's going to be doing a webinar with us in the next month or so. We've still got to bed down the details, but watch this space because we're really excited about that. We've also got a really lovely art and visioning workshop in-person event that we'll be having at Browns Plains in the Logan area. And that's promising to be really lovely as well. So that's a couple of hours on a Saturday. Again, the details have yet to be bedded down. But, you know, just keep an eye out for us. Make sure that you follow us on our socials. And if you want to check in every now and again, look at the events tab on our website, womeninbloom.com.au, because everything goes up there. So, that's...
and even if you've just got ideas, if you got ideas and concepts and things that you want to talk about or not talk about, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, that would be great.
Excellent.
All
right. Well, have a brilliant day, everyone.
Yes.
Yes. Enjoy the rest of your day.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.